Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. It is the deep dive. I'm joined by Josh Williams for this one, 24 hours later, because we wanted to discuss both Milan and Nottingham Forest in this week's episodes. First one, of course, on YouTube. Second one on YouTube for membership videos, but also on Redmen Plus straight after it. Josh, we're here to discuss the main thing, I think, that Arne Slot got right after the weekend's loss against Nottingham Forest, and it was something I know that you were interested in heading into the weekend. I was interested in finding out how Liverpool played when they went a goal behind, because for all the patience talk, sometimes it can go out the window when you're behind in a game.
Yeah, exactly. It's something I've wrote about a fair bit on my Substack and things. Just if you're installing patience, if you're going to be obsessed with control, how do you react then if you go a goal down? And we hadn't seen that in any game really. No, I don't even think we saw that in pre-season, did we? At any point. So
don't remember actually, no.
No, I think I was worried that like once that happens, do you then start playing like Klopp's Liverpool played last season, where you're just constantly forcing it, and if you're forcing it, you concede a bit more going the other way. So I wanted to see that, and in the past week we've seen it twice, and the reactions both times have been very, very different, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, I was sat in the ground. I was in the Upper Annie at the weekend against Nottingham Forest. I took my daughter to the game, like my eldest.
Was you in the sun?
No.
The lower Anfield Road was getting cooked.
Was it? Well, we were in the upper, mate. There was no such sunshine up there, like, nor was the mood particularly sunny up there.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing I sort of came away from the game thinking is it was a very Klopp Liverpool performance, because we were getting caught on the counter-attack over and over, and then you start thinking about, well, is this a reaction to us being a goal down? But then I think that was a bit naive of me, because although we were getting cut apart, it was done in a completely different way, wasn't it? Because Slot did tinker with the tactics quite a lot. Slot, well, for a start, Klopp pretty much never went to a 3 at the back in games when we were 1-0 down, did he? It was just more forcing it, like you say. But it was interesting. What did you see in that Nottingham Forest game?
So I think in the first hour, I think we were all right. We just didn't do the chance creation part very well. But their first shot didn't actually come until the 55th minute, which suggests that we had some element of control in there, and you know, we were cutting off their counter-attacks at source and things like that, but we just couldn't create chances. That was the biggest issue. So I think around the hour mark, Slot recognised that a lot of the problem was just individuals being miles off it, like Salah just giving the ball to an opponent 5 yards away. Who else was off it? I think collectively everyone was miles off it. Like, I think Gravenberg was the closest to his usual level, but even he was probably a little bit below. So on the hour, I think he makes 3 subs, does he?
Yeah, Kostas, Gakpo,
and someone else. Bradley, I think, might have come on actually, and Trent went into midfield, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
Just check there, because I've got them up there. It was Nunes, Bradley and Gakpo. Sorry, Kostas came on 75 against Nottingham Forest, yeah. Nunes, Bradley and Gakpo. Well,
I think Slot makes them subs. Bear in mind at this point it's still 0-0. I think he makes them subs simply because the individuals that came off weren't at it. You know, McAllister had done South America and stuff, so he probably a little bit tired and things like that. But then a few minutes later then, we concede. So on the back of conceding, Liverpool then have about 20 minutes not only to equalise but to get a lead, because you're competing against Manchester City. You're out on field, you're against a team that finishes in the bottom half typically. You have to win this game. And beyond that point, Liverpool just kind of lost it a little bit, and it didn't. We'll touch on shapes in a sec, but the shape didn't really matter, because Liverpool just started using the ball stupid. It was just like, you know, it was long balls and it was crosses and first touches.
Everything they were set up to defend really as well, wasn't it? That was the other thing. And
yeah.
The big thing for me in that Nottingham Forest game, and we didn't see this against AC Milan, but it was their goalkeeper, Sells. I mean, you can look at the stats right now on me screen. He completed 9 of 30 passes. Every one of those was categorised as a long ball, Josh.
Yeah, all
so clear. That and when you think of the goals Liverpool have scored so far this season, they've been from winning the ball back high up the pitch.
Exactly. Slot said that after the game. I think that's an important point. We obviously are good at scoring goals with the ball, But the goals we've scored this season have been transition goals, really. You know, you think of the ones we scored into Man United, especially where Casemiro's getting hounded and then we go up and score. Forest just didn't really give us that opportunity. All 30 of his passes were over 30 yards. I've said that a few times on different podcasts, including my own and that, but it's an important stat because it completely negates the high press that we've been so good at using, and it emphasises, like, go on, break us down. And Liverpool, I think, just panicked. Because they panicked, we ended up conceding a bit more than we created in the final 15 minutes. You know, they had chances to go 2 up. But I think what everyone wanted to touch on at the end of the game was, like, what on earth was the shape?
Yeah.
You know, I was in the upper main stand, and that's a pretty good view of the pitch.
Yeah, it's great for tactics.
Well, even I was like, what on earth is this that we're playing here? Because at times it looked like one defender, and like a 3 in front of him, and then everyone else was here, which was nuts.
Sort of do it like that, and they obviously went to 5 at the back at this point as well, didn't they? It was,
yeah, it looked like what even is that, a 3-1-6 or something?
I don't know. I think it was probably more like that.
That's what.
Maybe.
Yeah, when I looked back at it, when I looked back at it. That was how it looked for me, and I suppose we can use the vizzes now. So we'll get up the first viz. Yeah, so this is shortly after he makes 1 or 2 subs, and I think by this point he's made all 5. Forest had just gone a goal up, I think, maybe 5 minutes ago, something like that. So at that point it was relatively intact, where it was a back 3, midfield 2 and a front 5, which is we've touched on in the previous episodes, but people have asked us in previous episodes, why don't you use that as a defending shape as well? We saw why.
Yeah.
And if we use Viz 2 as well, just to re-emphasise that, again, back 3, midfield 2, and then everyone ahead. But the problem is, if you're going to use that, you have to dominate the ball, and we didn't. And the problem with that is you then end up kind of in 6s and 7s, because that's what you want your settled shape to be, but you never settled. So you end up just all over the place, and it looked like it made it worse.
Yeah, it definitely did, to be honest with you. And listen, I think a lot of that is, you know, maybe the substitutions, because when you've shown that graphic 75 minutes or whatever, that's when Costas comes on and Curtis Jones comes on as well. And, you know, even the personnel, I mean, we can look at Virgil van Dijk here, flanked by Costas Tsimikas and Conor Bradley.
Yeah, that's not
a back 3.
No.
That's 2 full-backs and a centre-back at best. Like, you know what I mean? They're just not the right profile of footballer to be playing in a back 3 together, are they? You might be able to get away with 1 full-back in a back 3, and I think Kyle Walker's done that over recent seasons because of his pace, his physicality and stuff, but like Costas and Conor Bradley aren't part of a back 3. They just never will be, and they never should be again. I
think one of the issues with it is he brought Bradley on when it was 0-0.
Yeah.
And then when it goes to 1-0 down and you want to move towards this, you've brought Bradley on, so you need to keep him on. So Bradley couldn't be this fella here, really. This was Salah, I think. Szoboszlai, Nunes, Jones.
Trent's in there as well, don't forget.
Trent was here, yeah, with Gravenberch. So Bradley kind of has to stay on the pitch. I think the weird one for me was probably he brings on Costas to be this fella.
Yeah.
When
he's got
pretty sure Joe Gomez was on the bench. The only thinking I can defend him with that is maybe, you know, you're thinking you need a goal.
Set pieces
and just threats. Tsimikas, you know, for all his downfalls, has the skill set to register some sort of assist. Gomez doesn't. Joe Gomez is completely toothless, really, if we're being honest, when it comes to actually providing a threat. He's all right on the ball, but you don't have to worry about him at all. Tsimikas at least offers something in that department, but I still think in that situation, if you're going like that, probably just use Gomez, I think.
And I think, you know, for me, I think obviously you're coming out of Nottingham Forest and you're thinking, right, well, that's the first test and we've not done particularly well. You know, have we?
No.
There's going to be more tests in the future, and that test thankfully happened to come very quickly. Now, I'm sure a lot of the focus over the couple of days in between the games was what will happen. you know, how do we react better to going a goal behind? And I think that's the big thing for me that I'm really pleased with in the performance against Milan, because we didn't lose our heads.
No.
We went about our business and we did show patience and we dominated AC Milan after going a goal down. What was the difference for you between what happened at Forest and what Liverpool did at Milan?
I think the big difference was simply how we used the ball after conceding. I think against Forest, after conceding, as I said, we rushed it, we forced it. It was very hurried and stuff like that. And so when that's the case, the ball is flying up and down and all that, and it's never settled. And I think against Milan, despite being a goal down, we continued to just play our way. Lots of patience, dominating the ball, sensible decisions, and that. Don't give it away cheaply. If you're going to try something, try it in the right moments when you are set to regain it. Things like that. And I think that just gave us a platform to go and dominate the game. Going basically, I think Milan are a bit different to Forest in the sense that they are nowhere near as comfortable soaking pressure with it in a block. Milan are a football playing side, so if Liverpool could pin them in, I think it was always going to be easier than pinning Forest in and finding a way through that. So we're saying though, despite Liverpool playing well, making the right decisions on the ball and all that, we still needed 2 set-piece goals to take the lead.
Yeah, of course, and it's part of the game, isn't it? And you know, thankfully we were better. What I found interesting in the set-piece side of things is it was Mannion, wasn't it? He was in goal and goes off injured. You know, we had Van Dijk and Konate pinning him in, and we've seen Van Dijk do that since the first game of the season. But as soon as their substitute goalkeeper came on, they didn't bother with it.
Yeah.
They just went, all right, fine. And I just wonder whether that was just something that they picked out about Mannion in particular, and maybe it was a game state thing where they were like, actually, we're 2-1 up, we're 3-1 up, we maybe don't need to put the pressure on the goalkeeper quite the same way, leave the back door a little bit open and stuff. But I just found that as an interesting sort of side point. One of the other things I think that I thought Liverpool reacted really well against AC Milan is, I think for a large part of the game, AC were sort of set up in a bit of a 4-2-3-1, and I'll just put the 2 midfielders on and the 3 and then the 1 there, but it could quite easily change to a pressing 4-2-4.
Yeah, it was at the start, definitely.
Yeah, and what I found really interesting is, to begin with, this guy was really on Gravenberch, and he made it really difficult for Liverpool to play the ball, you know, anywhere near the centre, whereas, you know, nice and compact, you could still get the ball to Trent and you were playing it down the wings and all that type of stuff. There was a patience to not try and force the ball to Gravenberch until we'd established that we could go down the wing. And then when the spaces started to open up, that's when we were able to get Gravenberch and McAllister therefore involved. We didn't give up on trying to play through the centre. We just asked different questions of them, for me.
Yeah, I think another kind of strategic element that emerged from it for me was the kind of clear intention to constantly search for our left side, Milan's right, switches of play in the direction of Gakpo. We haven't really seen too many switches of play, and Aristotle is not really that kind of coach. Certainly based on his numbers of Feyenoord and that, and he seems to be heavy on short passes, because if you lose the ball, short passes, you're set to immediately regain it and stuff. But Gakpo was a constant outlet for us. I think he received 12 progressive passes on the day. Next best was 8, and the next best beyond that was 6. I think Salah posted 6, for example, on the opposite side. Gakpo twice as much over here. Gakpo posted the most progressive carries, the most carries into the penalty box, and the most successful dribbles as well. So that was quite clearly a tactical thing for me, and I think it made sense as well. Looking at Milan, their right back for most of the season so far, I think, has been Emerson Royal, who is just not very good. He didn't play in this game. Calabria did, I think.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Ends up getting booked, ends up giving away the free kick for the opening goal. So I think we basically just identified, like, you got Teo Hernandez over here, but the lad on the opposite side's not very good. Find Gakpo, isolate him. And to be fair, I thought he was brilliant, Gakpo. Yeah,
he was superb. He was my man of the match anyway. I think I was really impressed with the 3 midfielders. I thought Gravenberch really came into it throughout the entire 90. He just got better and better and better. And I thought Szoboszlai and McAllister had a much better game. And what I loved, and I was talking to Paul about this sort of last night, is that we seemed to get McAllister, sorry, seemed to have an understanding of how to get into this position with the ball, whereas I don't think we've really been able to get him into that position. I think Szoboszlai going between the back line is a constant. He's going to get on the end of things. But what I think we do lack with Szoboszlai playing this position is that killer ball. He's not an Odegaard, he's not a Harvey Elliott, he's not going to play those sort of slide rule passes in. He's going to get on the end of something like a Steven Gerrard or a Frank Lampard, as I was saying last night. But if we can get McAllister on the edge, those quick passes all of a sudden become an option for us. And I thought the balance of his midfield display was the best I've seen this season, more akin to last season.
Yeah, I think as a three, as a unit, I think it was arguably the best we've seen this season, where they all combine and they all put in the same degree of shift. I think sometimes it's been one carrying the load of the other, or someone falling off it and the other one, accommodating for that or something. But I think this time it was three really strong performers. I think Szoboszlai, the ground he covered, as a pressing monster, honestly, he's as good as I've seen. He's right up there with, like, he's a Red Bull product, really. He looks like he's out of a Red Bull lab, to be honest. Gravenberch, his reading of everything was spot on, and I think McAllister for me is always like, around a 7 out of 10 or something. I think he's had a bit of a, I don't want to say quiet start to the season, but he hasn't had the limelight, has he? But I think maybe that's just because of Gravenberch.
Well, yeah, it might be because of Gravenberch. It might be because he's getting used to a different position once again. We saw him as the deep lying playmaker. We've seen him as the 10. We've seen him now as part of a 2 with responsibilities at both ends of the pitch. So it is just, I think, a period of adaptation. And that's why I'm encouraged by that midfield display. As I say, I think that was his best game. I think Gravenberch has almost got better every single game. And I think Szoboszlai's passing was much better this game. For example, against Nottingham Forest, I thought it was god-awful, to be honest with you.
That's interesting, though, because when you think about it, stylistically, the game is completely different, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe Szoboszlai is just not the guy that you want on the pitch when you have to open up a block, like you would rely on De Bruyne to do that. Odegaard, you could rely on to do that. Maybe Szoboszlai is maybe just a bit more of a workhorse than we realise, even though he looks technically gifted and that. Maybe against those teams, you play him a little bit deeper or something, and maybe Mac is there.
I said this on the podcast on Monday, mate. I think the profile of Szoboszlai being able to do that is absolutely key. But it's McAllister or it's, I think Harvey Elliott is probably the plan.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with it being Alexei McAllister as well. Equally, if, for example, you lose a Gravenberch, I'd be dropping Szoboszlai straight back in anyway to just cover the physicality that Gravenberch offers, those natural attributes and stuff like that. So I thought it was really encouraging, a real great way to bounce back from an early season slip up, I suppose.
Yeah, it was nice to see, kind of like not the same test. It was definitely a different kind of test, but to go a goal down and then to go a goal down again a couple of days later, the reaction was completely different to such an extent that I wouldn't be surprised if Slot had a word with them after the Forest game and said, like, if we concede, you don't respond like that by going hell for leather. You just you still play the same way. Still break them down the same way, still make them think. Because the crosses that Forest were getting in the box, he was heading them away. It was easy for them. So to see that kind of response, as you say, so quickly, it bodes well.
And one other thing, I don't know whether you saw this, but it was flying around Twitter last night, and it was Trent Alexander-Arnold talking to the CBS crew, with Jamie Carragher and stuff like that. Did you see?
No.
Happen to see any of his interview? What I found really interesting about this interview, I'll get your opinion on it, is Jamie Carragher basically asked him, what's different? What are you being told that's different from last season under Jürgen? And he said, well, there's a lot more coaching. And in a way, under Jürgen Klopp, we were told to just sort of go and do your thing because we'd had that coaching early doors or whatever. I'm putting words into his mouth here. But he said, what Slot is providing us is, and he used these words, if we're pressed like this, you do this. This is where you go if they're pressing like this. And if they're pressing like this is where you go.
Right.
So he's providing them like multiple ways of playing in one game.
Yeah, that's interesting. That I'll have to watch that because that's when you say Klopp was It sounds like Klopp's a bit of a vibes FC fella, doesn't it?
Well, no, it's not that. It's not, I don't think it can come across like that to me anyway.
No, I know what you mean, but I'm not that surprised, to be honest. Conor Bradley said early on that there's a lot more structure in the build-up phase especially, and there's obviously shades of letting your players figure it out anyway. But if the manager can just... Like, I thought Ipswich the first game of the season was really, really good. You know, we've got a really narrow back four like that, and we're getting pressed literally by a front four in exactly the same way. And the solution in the second half was just sound. Pressures now. And Liverpool got out much easier. And what I like the idea of moving forward now.
Hello? Or goodbye, I should say. Should say goodbye.
What I like the idea of now...
It was a great way to make a point.
That was weird, wasn't it? What I like the idea of now, moving forward. Stay like that, makes you look a little bit more physically imposing, mate. What I like the idea of now, moving forward, is if a team does that again, do Liverpool have the licence to just
do that
themselves? Yeah. So Slot's teaching them now these are the solutions, but is it going to be a case of he gets to a point where he doesn't have to tell them? They already know.
Hopefully.
And when that happens, you know, Liverpool should be flying by that point, but we're still going through that kind of learning process now. Absolutely.
Okay, well, next show we're doing is actually, it's a proper deep dive, this one. Loads of data has been trawled through this morning, and what we're going to be looking at next is Slot's rotation at Feyenoord, Klopp's rotation last season at Liverpool. We're going to look at the amount of games that was played, the amount of players that were used and stuff, and see if we can draw any early season conclusions. So get over to redmenplus.com or sign up at memberships, Redmen Plus videos to get that. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.